A few weeks ago, I did a video counting down the 10 worst Star Wars figures, so it's only fair I give you the 10 best. Now, in this countdown, I am not using my preference for certain on-screen characters to dictate my choices. My choices are based purely on the aesthetics of the action figure or if it provided really good value for money. So when we come back, I will give you the 10 best vintage Star Wars figures. Stay tuned.
Una puta solo?
Yes, Greedo. As a matter of fact, I was just going to see your boss.
To kick things off, and yes, this will be controversial, but when I was a kid, Greedo represented everything an alien should be. He had a long snout, pointy ears, and huge bulging eyes. He was pretty much everything you would want in a figure of an alien. And whilst his outfit is not at all screen accurate, the vibrant colours make him really stand out when on display. If all that wasn't enough, the fact that he is one of the few figures with a hand that's been sculpted to properly hold his weapon puts him in the number 10 spot. And yes, I know that Stan Solo has given us a far superior figure in recent years, but this list is looking at vintage figures only. R2-D2 from the Power of the Force line was the third version of R2 that Kenner gave us, but is by far the best. Appearance-wise, it's pretty much the same as the previous two versions, but this one comes with the added benefit of a usable play feature in the form of a pop-up lightsaber. Yes, it's more of a truncheon than a lightsaber, but the designers at Kenner did the best they could for a toy that would retail for under $3. For me, the TIE Fighter pilot represents a wonderful childhood memory. Now, I'm sure I'm not the only one who opened this figure back in the day and wondered what that delicious smell was. Now, obviously, this figure did not make the top 10 because it smells nice. No, it's at number 8 because it looks great. Now, for the record, one of my favourite all-time characters on screen is the Imperial Stormtrooper, but much like Darth Vader, Kenner made them way too skinny, whereas the TIE Fighter pilot was given a really stocky build, who despite being a little on the short side, does look quite menacing. The TIE Fighter pilot is at number 8. In at number 7 we have Bib Fortuna. Now, when Kenner first started releasing figures for The Return of the Jedi, they really upped their game and started giving kids real value for money with their figures. Bib Fortuna has a really elaborate head sculpt with a tentacle that wraps all around his body and a face that always freaked me out as a kid. But in terms of value for money, they really knocked it out of the park with the accessories, all of which were unique to this figure. A nice suede-like overcoat is complemented by a belt chest plate combo, and finally he has a really cool looking staff. As a kid, I always wanted the biggest bang for my buck, and this figure provided exactly that. Much like Bib Fortuna, the Emperor's Royal Guard is another figure that gave kids excellent value for money. I could go on and on about how cool it is to have not one but two fabric elements and a unique pike, but the real reason this figure makes the list is because it just looks amazing. It was a unique figure at the time and remains that way some 4 decades later. Yet another figure from the Return of the Jedi line, this time it's Squid Head. This figure has an excellent head sculpt, and if you were in any doubt, there's no question that this is an alien with the head of a squid, hence the name Squid Head. Now, much like the previous two figures on this list, there's an abundance of fabric here, and while he does come packaged with a fairly common blaster, it's the head sculpt that puts him in the number 5 spot. The fact that much like Greedo, he has a hand that was sculpted to hold the blaster is an added bonus, but yes, Squid Head is number 5. Don't worry, this is the last time I'll be featuring Return of the Jedi figures in this list, but there's no way I couldn't not feature Princess Leia in her battle poncho. This figure takes value for money to the next level. We get a soft goods poncho, a removable belt, an indoor blaster, but best of all, we get a removable helmet. Now, I must confess that Luke Skywalker in his battle poncho would have replaced Leia in this list, except for the fact that his helmet is not removable. This goes down as one of Kenner's most bizarre decisions, but as it is, Princess Leia in her battle poncho is a number 4 figure. In at number 3, we have the AT-AT driver. Now, as I said earlier, the Stormtrooper is one of my favourite on-screen characters, but the action figure is extremely disappointing. So when I got an AT-AT driver as a kid, I was thrilled to have what I considered to be a far superior looking Imperial figure. For a figure that came out in 1980, the sculpt is fantastic, and the addition of the red and grey made this figure stand out in ways the Stormtrooper never could. Despite not being seen with a weapon in the movie, I always liked his rifle, which fits snugly over his shoulder, giving him a very military-like look. I'm sure many will disagree with me on this pick, but in my opinion, the AT-AT driver deserves to be at number 3. If you thought my pick for number 3 was odd, you'll be scratching your head when you hear me say that the Cloud Car pilot is at number 2, but hear me out. Despite only being seen from the shoulders up in the Empire Strikes Back movie, Kenner produced a figure that not only looks great, but checks that value for money box also. Star Wars figures can at times look quite boring with a heavy reliance on darker shades, but with the white, yellow and orange combo of the Cloud Car pilot, what we have here is one of the most eye-catching figures in the line. I know I've made a big deal about getting value for money in my figures, but the Cloud Car pilot definitely delivers here. Not only do we get the grey pilot blaster, we also get a comlink which fits into his hand, and given the way his arm has been sculpted, it all appears very natural. For a character that had such limited time on screen, Kenner did an amazing job here. I'm sure many of you will have disagreed with my last 2 picks, however, I'm sure we can all agree that Luke Skywalker in his Bespin fatigues is the best Star Wars figure ever made. From a visual standpoint, the beige fatigues with the brown boots just works, and was the inspiration to an outfit I wore in the early 2000s, consisting of a beige corduroy jacket coupled with matching pants, but the least said about that the better. Despite not being the first figure to come with 2 weapons, that honour goes to IG-88. The Bespin Luke was my first figure to come with more than 1 accessory, and the day I ripped him off the card was a very special day. Back in 1981, this was my favourite figure and remains so to this day. So there you have it, that is my top 10 of the best Star Wars figures, and yes, I do know there were 1 or 2 controversial choices in there, but those are my choices, so please do let me know in the comments what you thought of my list, and do let me know your 10 best vintage Star Wars figures. So as always, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed it, please do leave a like, make sure you are subscribed, and I will see you all in the next video.